Well, hello, everyone. This is Anita Johnson with the Anita Johnson podcast, Finding Your Financial Voice podcast. And so, thank you, everyone, to all our listeners. I'm excited about the new issue and the new podcast that's coming up, and excited about the person that I'm getting ready to interview, who happens to be, full disclosure, my sorority sister.
Hey,
So thank you, Pam. Pam Sams, thank you so much for being here.
yeah, well, thanks for having me, Soror.
Of course. Thank you so much. So, Pam, I'm going to allow you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience. Give us about, a couple of minutes of who you are, what you do, and how did you get into this business?
Oh goodness. So Pam Sams, I have a financial planning and wealth management firm in Ashburn, Virginia, right outside of DC, Jackson Sams Wealth Strategies. I've been practicing for the last 22 years, really
Oh,
focused
wow.
on financial wellness for women. How I got into this business is really quite the journey. So in 1999, I have an MBA. I got an MBA in financial management. Thought I was going to go into this whole different direction, investment banking, Wall Street, the whole suspenders and 9 yards. That did not happen. I had two beautiful boys back to back in graduate school, believe it or not. So
Oh,
struggling
wow.
and going to school and trying to raise kids. So I figure 80 hours a week just not wasn't going to happen for investment banking. So I took some time. Oprah always says, take some time and try to figure out what your next best step is. So that's what I did in 2000. Unfortunately, in 2001, my dad got sick and passed away in that year, trying to figure out what I was going to do and was helping my mom figure out her finances in that transition. So the light bulb went off, and it's like, I'm sure
Mm,
there's other women similar to my mom who needed the help and may not have had the guidance that she had. And so I was able to use my finance degree in a different way. So I hung out my shingle in 2002 with the intent to really focus on financial wellness for women. Most of my clients are women, single by choice, divorced and widowed women. And I've been loving and enjoying it ever since.
wow, that's amazing how we get these degrees and then we have to use them for something else. We thought we were going
Mhm.
to use it for certain things, and then we go around and use them for something else. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. So that's a good point to bring out to women who are in trying to get a
Mhm.
extra something master's degree or whatever it is that they're working on, and so you may not end up in where you want to be, but you'll
Mhm.
end up where you need to be. Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly,
Or
exactly.
working on a PhD like you are. So
Yeah, that is definitely a long story. I was
but
supposed to be in law school and be a tax attorney, but that ain't
that didn't happen either. Yeah, exactly.
that didn't happen either. I did get my master's in taxes, but I didn't go to law school after that. I went straight for the PhD. So
Yep.
yeah, so I'm making so yeah, exciting, exciting. So a typical day for you, when a client or something is referred to you, what is the typical day for you?
hmm Oh gosh, typical day is really busy. I've been blessed with a prosperous practice, but when somebody is referred to me, I sit down with them, or at least I have what I call a discovery session, really just to figure out where they are in life and
Mm,
with their finances, and see where we can meet each other in the middle, and then explain to them what types of services I do provide and how I would be able to help. And then eventually, at the end of that conversation, it's a choice. We can continue to move forward farther in our conversation, or we can say, hey, thanks, well, that was great, but but no thanks. With that, for the most part, most people choose to continue and move forward. I have people that I have been, that I've been working with as long as I have been in business,
mm,
probably the last
mhm.
20 years, really being what I call the trusted financial advisor for most of my clients. So that's what a typical day looks like in terms of the initial discovery session. And then I do what I call client success sessions for clients who just on an ongoing basis, either quarterly or semi-annually, depending on how often they want to meet me. And then I do, of course, phone calls and emails as needed with these erratic calls. Hey, I'm thinking about buying a house, or hey, something happened and I lost my job, or some of those things we have to navigate throughout their financial journey.
Mhm. So what is a discovery? Is there a discovery session? Is that a bunch of paperwork to fill out and all that? Because
No, I know.
yeah, exactly. I have a bunch of
Paperwork
paperwork.
always, always.
Everybody's got a bunch of paperwork, and so
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Yeah, I try to make it as easy as possible because people don't like paperwork, and I don't like people to be deterred by not having all of that. What is your blood type and what is your firstborn's name type of thing. So,
Which child are you
yeah,
selling?
which child are you selling to in order to move forward, get retired, that sort of thing. No, but it's really looking at the basics. How I look at 4 key areas in people's financial
Mm,
lives. The 4 key areas is really cash flow, cash management. So what's going on there in terms of what you have for saving, debt, and loans, things like that. And then the second area is all about risk management. Those are your
mm,
insurance programs. Then the third one is investments, and then the last one would be legacy planning. So if
mm,
I keep it within that 4 quadrants or matrix, so I call it my matrix of financial wellness, for
mm.
the most part, I'm able to gather as much information as I can without having people bring in wads of paperwork in order to meet. So if you have general understanding of what is in those key
Mhm.
areas, then we can have a decent conversation to move people forward.
Do you find in the discovery session that people say, maybe, or is it in another session when you say to them, okay, this is how much you will need? That's probably in the client
Mhm.
success part. This is how much money you're going to need for retirement or legacy. And then they say to you, okay, and then they walk away because they feel that they don't have enough money
Mhm.
to go to a financial advisor such as yourself.
Yeah, I get that a lot of times, and I tell people you can't afford not to have an advisor because a lot of times what I call, saving people from themselves.
Mhm. Mm.
Just in dollars and cents sometimes. Just recently, a woman going through divorce, and she came to me as a referral, and she had questions to ask me about it. She said, well, I'm thinking about doing XYZ. And I said, nope, don't do that. That's going to be almost $90,000 tax hit if you do. So without having an advisor, she would have got a nasty
Mm.
1099 at the end of the
Mhm.
year saying you owe taxes on $90,000.
Mhm.
So I'm saying people, regardless of where you are, these particular decisions that you make with your finances sometimes do require a second opinion or a second look, or someone to
Right.
say, is that something that I should be
That
doing?
you
In
want to
her
do.
case,
Mhm.
no, it was something that she couldn't. And so when they get that number, a lot of times, of course, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do we fix where you are and take you from point A to point B in the most efficient manner? So that may mean some sacrifice in your life to put more money away for retirement. Or, I always tell people 3 ways to influence the number for retirement. Number one, you work longer. Number two, you throw more money at it. Number three, you live off of less.
Mm.
So you determine which one of those things are more palatable for you, because some people will go, I need to get out of here.
Mhm.
65 is my number. Tell me what I need to do to get retired at 65. Okay, it's going to take this amount of money, but then that's
Mhm.
also going to require some sacrifice, or you can't live off of that much money. You need to reduce your lifestyle. And that's a
Gotta
whole
reduce
different
it.
interesting
Gotta reduce that
conversation.
lifestyle.
You
Yeah.
got to reduce that lifestyle. And as you know, as a financial behaviorist like myself, is that's hard for some people
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
modify their behavior to live within these parameters to get that lifestyle or that budget in place to in order to meet their goals for
Mhm.
that. So it does take some massaging the the behaviors and the habits. You can't order DoorDash every day. You can't go to buy the Jimmy Choo's. You can't,
Hey,
those sort of things.
I can't take like a 6 months cruise or nothing.
Yeah, you can't take a 6 months cruise or anything, but if with proper planning, you can. But
Yes.
not all of a sudden I want to get up and do that. I mean, I just recently had a conversation with a friend at another podcast I was doing, and that's what we're talking about. It's like every time your girlfriend comes and says, "Hey, let's go to Carmel or whatever." No, you can't. You
Yeah.
have to make these decisions to plan appropriately, so you can't just have these popped up things that come up
Yeah.
and you want to keep up with the Joneses or keep up with your girlfriend, so to speak. A lot of times you have to say, "Hey, this is what I'm trying to achieve. These are my goals." You have to respect that, and then fit yourself in where you can. That's reasonable for you.
Yeah, I find that that our behaviors, dictate how we live
Mhm,
today, tomorrow, and what legacy we actually leave for our families and stuff. Do
mhm.
you find that it's do you counsel couples too as well?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do you find that one or the other is like, okay, cool, we're gonna do this, we're gonna make this happen, and the other one's like, no, I need to do XYZ, I need to buy this boat, or I need to, always be able to get my nails done every day.
Mhm, yeah, exactly. I
So what
do.
which one do you find does that be like, okay, we can do this, and the other one is like, man or woman, which one is the most is does it the
Was
most?
the most it's I see it equally
Okay.
with couples as well. Just case in point, I just took on a couple that they are definitely having some contention. So I'm the third party referee in the conversation. And going back to these behaviors and this money mindset, because it does start from environment and how you
Mhm,
were raised. So with him, he was raised by a single mom who was scrapping and scraping. So
mhm,
right now he's like nickel and diamond
mhm,
mentality, even though now he's making well over six figures in order to achieve the things that he can. And his wife is coming from that area where, hey, I grew up in a middle class. We had things, we're fine. She also is making well over six figures. So they have the resources, but sometimes these mindsets that you grew up with keep you stuck
keep
with
you
that
stuck. Mhm.
mentality that I got to be eating sardines and crackers versus I can now buy a decent meal without feeling guilty about it. And so that conversation sometimes is a little bit challenging because I have to tell them or show them or show him particular is that you do have the resources. You're not going to run out of money. Things are going to be okay. And so he's starting to, soften up a little bit. But
Mhm,
those
mhm.
conversations in the beginning were challenging because he was accusing her of spending too much or not taking into consideration the budget. He has this elaborate spreadsheet that, if you go over a penny, it's gonna turn red, it's craziness. So you have to say, okay, let's not be a slave to the
Yeah, let's don't
spreadsheet.
do that whole penny
Let's
thing.
not do that
Okay.
whole penny thing. Even when he was explaining it to me, it was like, yeah, I don't know, it's not rounding right. So some things turn red and it's driving me crazy. No, we're not gonna we're not
Got a
gonna do
software
that.
that tells you it's a penny over.
Yeah, it's a penny over. Yes, he was meticulous like that. So I was like, we're not gonna isolate
Wow.
this spreadsheet. We're really, this is your financial plan. We have all the numbers in there. And if you're able to meet your goals, yes, we do need to work on it. You can't go out and be extravagant on certain things, but within
Mhm.
reason, you will be fine. So yeah, but it's a challenge sometimes working with people in their money mindsets and the way they grew up.
Uh, do you find, and I know that the financial arena that you're in is still male dominated.
Mhm.
So do you find that sometimes when clients come to you that they'd be like, maybe you should bring your boss, which is a man, in, and and I know you don't have a boss, so to speak,
Mhm.
but do you
Yeah.
find that they talk to you, would like to have someone else, a male, to come in
Mhm.
and or a second opinion, which
Mhm.
may be a man?
Not so much now. Earlier in my career, yes. because I, was a newbie, and of course, sometimes I would run meetings with my manager, or my manager would come in, and so yes, they would be directing that conversation towards them on that. So not so much now.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is that yes, I do cater for women, but I do have some single guys in my practice that I started with. So I guess they needed either a mama figure or wife figure to take care of their finances. So, and those are some of the clients that have been with me the longest, is, these single guys that I'm working with in terms of their finances. But now, not so much now.
Okay, all right, good, good, good. I read an article that talked about male dominant and being a Black African American woman
Hmm.
too. Those
Correct.
things being harder for them to come into for them to get business. Also, that more African American people in general are afraid to go to a financial planner because they don't trust the industry.
Yeah.
How do the financial industry in general, we're talking banks, insurance, everything. How do
Yeah.
you get them to trust you?
Yeah. That's a good question, because yes, we have historically been manipulated in our
Mhm,
industry, and that's the unfortunate piece that we have to get through. Is, I think it's probably like lawyers and financial advisors, all these things that you have to get through, some of the
mhm,
negativity of our industry as well. And so it's really, it's a common conversation, with, especially with some of my Black women that I deal with, and Black men. It's, I'm just like you. I share my story. I show where I grew up. I grew up in the inner cities of St. Louis, so didn't come from many. We had, basically, I would say probably lower middle class,
mhm,
maybe. But, if you, to be honest, it was the hood. Let's say that. So keeping it real with your
right.
clients, what you see is what you get. It's not a facade. And I try to break down this whole jargon of finances, to bring it to something that's more palatable and understandable to my clients, so they like that. And that's basically, if you can tell them, meet them where they are, tell them your story,
Mhm, mhm,
get them to understand how the industry works, and explain to them that you can be a player in this. You don't have to go out and, on urban radio where they're advertising payday loans instead of, 401ks or mutual funds.
mhm,
This is where, trying to explain to them, you need to be a player in this, and this is how you survive in
mhm,
this whole financial world of money. And don't be shy, and go to someone who will explain it to you. So I'm open and honest with my clients, and say that yes, this is what Fidelity's going to do. This is how they operate. This is what I'm going to show you, how to navigate that world
mhm.
in the most efficient manner for yourself, to optimize what you're currently doing, instead of, you know, one of my clients, a Black woman, she's like, I had this little guy at, little white guy at Fidelity that was telling me, blah blah blah. I didn't know my story, didn't want to, was just basically under trying to get my assets, basically.
Mhm,
Didn't understand anything of
mhm.
what I was dealing with, my background, what I was trying to achieve, all of these things. So you need to have somebody that's in your corner when you're
Right.
dealing with your
Yeah.
money, and understand you, and explain to you, yes, you can be a player in this industry without having to, go to these big institutions sometimes, who just want your assets and not necessarily care about what you're trying to achieve in terms of your goals.
Right. Right. Yeah, it is it can be a difficult task to get them to understand the
Hmm.
community, the African American
Hmm.
community, that they need this.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to, behaviors and
Hmm.
things like that. It goes back and if you and I and anybody else that's in that field can understand that, then we sit down with them on their behaviors as well, do the best we can with the behaviors and stuff.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure you've had those conversations with folks about, okay,
Hmm.
just like you said about the couple, you know,
Yeah.
what is the behavior?
Hmm.
you know, you're marrying these two people. Not only the two people are marrying, you know, physically, mentally, they're marrying, and different thoughts about finances. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Exactly. But to your point as well is that, I tell people it's like, and that's just a kind of a one-off, we're going to build a relationship over time. It's kind of
Mhm.
like the, financial marriage, you're like, you're going to be stuck with me for a while, if that's
And we're
okay.
not divorcing.
Yeah, and we're not, yeah, we're not divorcing, with that. So and now I'm at the point, definitely in my career, where I'm able to choose who I work with. And of
Mhm.
course, if they're not following the philosophy, or I don't think we're a really good fit, then I'll let you know, hey, maybe this is not going to work out,
Mhm. Mhm.
for that. But here's some, some good tips, and I can refer them out to someone that I think that would be a better fit, for them.
Right. Yeah. Now, what kind of I, I'm always on this thing about a financial toolbox.
Hmm.
What is it that people need in their financial toolbox?
Yeah. So back to my matrix. That's what I tell people,
Mhm.
the different components that they need, for their overall financial wellness. Make sure they understand what credit is about and what
Mm.
their credit score is. Because a lot of times, especially in our community, is that,
Mhm.
yeah, we, if you ever run into any one of us, they're, oh, my credit is, jacked up. I
Yep.
need
Yeah. Yeah.
and not understanding why it's jacked up. So
Let
sometimes
me
is
raise
that
my
you need to
hand too.
understand. You
Yeah.
need to understand,
Yeah,
what
years
your credit
ago.
score.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
I've been there too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think we all have, with that.
Mhm.
But how to correct it? Know what it goes into your credit score. What the types of loans that they're looking at, how it's balanced, with your credit, utilization, all of these things, understanding that, knowledge is power. So if you understand how things operate, then, I'm a big proponent of education. So that's what I do with my clients, is that, okay, what's your credit score? Oh, it's this. Okay, have you looked into that? How often do you look at it? You don't have to buy all of these credit monitoring services. You can get
To do it
an
yourself.
annual credit. Yeah, you can get an annual credit report every year from your, from all three credit bureaus. The score on a have different hand, they're going to charge for it. But most of these banks and credit cards nowadays are really, as a value add, giving you
Mhm.
an opportunity to check on that from time to time, so you understand. And then of course, student loans, of course, is a big thing. So how much are you taking on? Know the options, of repayment. There are a variety of different ones that are out there now versus what it was before. And then not take it on too much. I remember back in the day, I had friends like, oh, let me just take it. Yeah, it was like way over what they actually needed, and they're going out buying extra stuff. No, don't do that. Yeah, chicken's gonna come home to roost at some point, and it's gonna have to pay
Mhm.
it. So no,
Mhm.
we're out buying all of these niceties and things like that. I don't even think they let you do that these days. But anyway, so really understanding that, and then of course, insurances, making sure you're protected. Don't get me on my soapbox about, life insurance in our community. It's been sold to us wrong for years, and so that's why we avoid it at all costs, and we're in these GoFundMe's all the time because we don't have
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
life insurance.
Yeah.
Because, yeah,
Mhm.
because people always say, I don't trust that, or I don't know about that, or
Mhm.
things like that. So that is a definite tool in your toolbox, though. So you have to understand it. Again, knowledge is power. So how
Mhm.
is wealth transferred? And I did that article, in Affluence, I think a few months back, about wealth transfer. That's how most wealth is transferred
Mhm.
to the next
Through
generation, is
insurance.
through
Mhm.
life insurance products.
Mhm.
And if we're not a player in it, how are we going to do that?
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
this mentality that I don't want to make my kids rich, we got to get out of that. It's like, oh, I'm
Right.
gone, but I don't want to make them rich. I want to make sure they're going to work for it. And that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to create a generational wealth that they can pass on to generation, as well. And then of course
Right.
having the proper investments in your tool chest, maybe brokerage accounts and outside of your retirement accounts and all of those things. And if legacy planning is also one of those things to have, or will,
Mhm.
a trust if that's necessary, understanding how money is transferred, understand taxes. You have a master's in taxation, so I'm sure you would you fall into that camp that people need to know how they're
Hmm.
taxed, how their investments are taxed,
Right.
and what your
Hmm.
tax liability is going to be when you do transfer wealth as well. And I think that's one of the areas that a lot of people are just in the dark with. They pay taxes on an annual basis, or they go to their accountant or what I call tax preparer, because it's not an accountant who's really working on your situation
Hmm.
on an ongoing
Hmm.
basis. Everybody can prepare a tax return, but looking at the proactivity of tax diversification is where people really need to educate themselves,
Right.
because
Right.
this big nest egg that you have, and I always tell people, if you have $1 million, you probably have more $700,000. No, why? Uncle Sam's going to have their hand out
He's
for
gonna
that
take the
other
rest
three.
of it. Yeah.
He's going to take the rest of it. And it's like, is there a way that I can? Yes, there are ways, but you have to navigate that earlier. You don't want to get to the door and then you don't have any options. You want to start planning accordingly throughout your life on how to situate your investments more tax efficient as well.
Yeah, that's always a challenge, I would say, about the taxes because people come be like, "Hey, what's I need to get that refund," and then that's all
Oh
they
yeah,
talk about,
that's
right?
all they
And
focus
I'd be
about.
like trying to
Exactly.
talk about other stuff, like, okay, so what are you gonna do with this? Let's
Hmm.
plan something with this. Do you really need to spend this? You know, do you really need that vacation?
Do
It's just
you
like what
really
you
need
were
that?
saying.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's like do you really need
Exactly.
that? Yeah, come on
Yes.
now.
Do you really? I know, and it's the biggest tax refund, and everybody wants it. You see all the
Yeah,
commercials.
yeah, they
Hey,
want
go
it.
buy this, go this, over that. And I think I had a conversation not too long ago. Yeah, during tax season, and I was like, isn't it funny? Like you go and see in the store, like at Walmart or whatever, and that TV is exactly how much your tax refund is. That's what they're doing. They're
Yeah,
manipulating you. Say,
exactly.
oh yeah, most people's average tax refund is $6.99. Yeah, that TV is
Yeah,
$6.99.
yep. $700 I'm getting back.
Yeah, and $700 I'm getting back. Now I can go buy that big screen TV,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
right.
so everybody
Yeah.
wants it, but having, like you said, just having a game plan for it, and that's what I talk to my clients about, is capturing the refund and also capturing that raise. It's
Mm,
like you can get that lifestyle creep. Oh, now I'm making this amount of salary. Now, you're going to go out and start balling. No, let's
no.
capture some of
Mm-mm.
that with putting more money away for your retirement and paying down some debt, perhaps, whatever. But having a strategy for it before it happens, because then
Right.
lifestyle creep happens, and now you're like, oh, I can do that, and I can remodel the house, and I can do all this
Paint the house,
thing.
put
Yeah,
new
paint the
carpet
house,
in.
buy put no carpet in, go buy
Yeah.
that new car now, all of that.
Yeah, I have a feeling towards cars, so
Okay.
I was like, "Why you need a new car?
Hmm.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
you
why
want a
you need
car
that?
note?" Yeah, I'm trying to figure
Yeah,
out why.
really. I
Yeah,
know
exactly.
why. I know you just paid that one off, and now I'm looking
Yeah,
at something else.
exactly,
No,
exactly. Yeah,
mm-mm.
yeah,
No, no,
exactly.
no.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. If there's anything that any advice you could give to women today, what would be that advice?
Hmm. It's really, know what you're worth, because a lot of times in our workplace that we're lowballing ourselves when it comes
Mm,
to our salaries. So
mm,
understanding how to
mm,
negotiate, and we're horrible negotiators when it comes
wow.
to going to
Ooh,
bat for
I love
ourselves. So understanding that, but then once you get the salary, understanding what goes on with your cash flow.
it. Mhm,
Again, what does your expense structure look like? What do you have a budget, and understanding where money is going on a month to month basis, and then maximizing your investments after that. Understanding where what do you need to put into your retirement? What do you need to put into educating your kids if you have that? What all of those numbers. So knowing your numbers, your net worth, what is your assets minus your liability, understanding what your net worth is, and hopefully increasing that over time. But knowing those numbers, knowing how much I
mhm,
need to retire, knowing my net worth, how much it takes to educate my kids, where my investment accounts are, having a good inventory of your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that matrix of financial wellness, understanding all of those components that you have in your financial toolbox and how they work and how they operate, especially if you're kind of doing this on your own as a do-it-yourselfer.
Right.
That people can throw any old thing at you, but why do you have it? What is the function? What is its job in your financial plan? And I do that all the time when people come to me. It's like, okay, why do you have this? I don't know. Somebody sold it to me years ago. Some Primerica person,
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
my
Oh,
friends, went with Primerica to convince me to buy a life insurance policy and whatever. And so you have that thing, or somebody at the bank, of course.
mhm,
I went to the
mhm.
bank one day and to get a withdrawal, and they sold me some annuity. You know what I mean? But why
Right.
do you have
Right.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
thing, and what is
Exactly.
its function
What's the
in your
purpose of
financial
it? Does
plan?
it
Yeah,
fit
what is the
into your,
purpose?
yeah, what does
It's
it fit
just
into your goal
yeah.
sheet? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so
Mm-hmm.
understanding all of that. So just really, again, knowledge is power, understanding kind of the financial layout of what you're trying to achieve and revisiting your financial plan. And if you're not working an advisor, definitely recommend at least getting a second opinion. You may be doing all the things right, but understanding a professional, that's what we do 24/7. It could be something that you're missing, just understanding that. And we know how complicated the tax laws are. And so you don't want to get hit over the head with something. Tax law change is going to happen 2025. Some things are going to be rescinded. So understanding how that's going to impact your
Right. Right.
finances, if it does, you don't want to get caught not knowing. It's like, oh, I didn't know, the tax rates will change, or I didn't know if I inherited X amount of dollars that now, Uncle Sam's coming to the door. All of these things, understanding a lot better. So
Right.
getting that second opinion if we can.
Right. Right. Well, for those listeners that just kind of got into the middle of this, I'm talking to Pam Sams, and she, full disclosure, is my sorority sisters, and we are deltas, just in
Yes,
case.
just in case, the best sorority in the world. That's what you gotta say.
Although I have green on today,
Okay,
don't
yeah,
mistake that.
don't mistake that.
Don't mistake that. And she is a financial advisor, and she is out of the Washington, D.C. area. Good,
Hmm.
great. So Pam, what activities do you have going on in the I know one thing that you are speaking with AAA, and I love it because I used to do workshops with them. And so I love the idea that you are across AAA. I see your face over there. So
Hmm.
congratulations on that, because that's a
Yeah.
big one.
Yep, I do that. I also am a community ambassador with AARP. So I speak on Social Security and yeah, and retirement planning for them. I have to remember because I do a variety of different things.
Uh-huh.
Medicare, during Medicare open enrollment, I do
Okay.
seminars there. And then coming up, I have a the International Bible is IBW conference in DC that I'm
Okay.
speaking with and on behalf of ARP. So I'll be speaking there as well. So people can find me round and
Wow.
about. And I also myself have a podcast coming out fairly soon, Her Money, Her
Good.
Choice, in the next month or so, talking
Hmm.
about finances for women. So that's what I have going on.
All
Always
right. Well, let
educating.
us know because Pam is a contributor to the Affluence Financial Fitness Women magazine. And so she's been a contributor for how long now, Pam?
Gosh, I think it's going on year 4, I believe.
Wow.
It's been a
Yeah.
while, yeah.
And she's going to be our cover person for our July issue that's coming out. So, hey, we're excited about that. And so she'll have a spread, and her information will be there. And you can call her, email her, go see her at these different places if you're
Mhm.
in the DC area. And if wherever you are, if you want to fly there, bus there, train there, Pam will be happy.
Mhm. Yes, I will. Or if I come to a town near you, look me
Yep,
up.
she's coming to a town near you. Thank you so much, Pam, for being with me on Finding Your Financial Voice podcast with Anita. And thank to all our listeners and our viewers. I'm excited about this podcast. I'm excited about the next 6 months, year that this podcast or the magazine will be pushing forward. It's going to be some new stuff, and we're going to be talking about that pretty soon. Can't tell you the secrets just yet, but we're going to be talking about it pretty soon. So thank you, Pam. We
Thank you
appreciate
very much.
it. Thank you. Thank you.